Welcome to Straightway Through with Gina, the podcast where we say it straight, we say it true, we say it kind every time to the best of our ability. I have a special guest here today, and we're going to talk about a topic that is absolutely relevant to you. I have no doubt. First, before we get into introducing our guest and sharing more on the topic, a prayer. Thank you, Father God Almighty, for bringing us together today, both my guest, Susan, and I, and our listeners, whoever's listening to this podcast. My hope, my prayer is that they walk away with something that they can apply into their life, into their relationships, into their communication right away in a way that helps them, that brings peace, that brings an understanding that they're not alone. It's so common to feel so alone in this world, in our relationships. I can speak for myself. I can speak for others who have shared their experience with me. They're challenging, these relationships and communications. They can be hard and bring us into despair. But through our time together, my ask is that we find ways to communicate, to increase clarity, to decrease confusion, and to get to understanding so that both people in any communication feel understood. Help guide me in this podcast, in this episode, to ask the kinds of questions that would be helpful for listeners. Help to create pauses where I can listen for you and see how you would like the direction of this to go. And please help listeners, help my guest to do whatever is most beneficial for them and each other. I would love to see a world where we're all communicating better. And even if there's miscommunication, even if there's trouble in communication, even if two people don't understand each other, if there's a way we could do it without the animosity, without the hate that comes up, without the dislike, without the feeling divided and feeling lonely and feeling depressed, my prayer is that you help all humans to communicate in ways where they feel supported. And I know that that might seem like a lofty goal or a long shot, but I do think that little by little, as we show up and address these communication issues and talk about them and work at getting better and trust the process, meaning not expect overnight change, that it will all come together. I thank you for guiding me and for leading me to do this podcast, to be here and to have this opportunity to talk with my wonderful guest and to share things with listeners. In Christ Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, Susan Stern, it's fabulous to have you here. I am super excited about this topic. Before we get into the topic, please give us a little introduction. Who is Susan Stern? Who are you?
Uh, well, I live here in Florida and I am a life coach. I work with women who are exhausted from overgiving to help them set loving boundaries so they have more time and energy for themselves.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, and what led you to that?
Well, I was a caregiver for over 10 years for my mom who had Alzheimer's,
Mm,
and I recognized how boundaries was an area that I definitely needed some work on. And also my clients, that was an area that they struggled into, being tender-hearted people who wanted
mm,
to give, but then it would come to a cost. So wanting to help
mm.
them to take better care of themselves.
Aw, that's beautiful. How you weaved in your personal story into a way to help other people.
Thank you.
And also how you took the good from what was hard,
Mm, I
right?
love
I
that
mean,
too.
like,
Yeah.
because that's the secret of life. There's always going to be hard things. and
Yes.
and if you can take the good from them, then that's the best.
Exactly. Turning your pain into purpose.
That's right. Beautiful. Okay, now we land on a very special topic, and this is I'm going to learn a lot. I mean, I don't know, I don't want to assume you're going to learn a lot, but I think us just talking about this
Mm.
special topic is going to help us and help our listeners. Would you like to introduce the
Mm.
topic?
Yes, it is working on being less offendable. So being unoffendable, which
Mm.
that is a huge task. And I don't know anyone who's mastered that. I know I haven't, but it is a goal I'm working towards.
Yeah, unoffendable. It
Mhm.
has a certain ring to it. Even when I heard you mention the topic as being the topic, I thought like,
Mhm.
wow, isn't that it's just nice to think about being a person who isn't offended. And I
Yes.
know there are some people, I mean, I run into people that will say things like, "Oh, I don't take offense," or "I don't do this," or "I don't do that." But deep down, I still feel like they do. So when I say it's a nice idea, I say like, wow, imagine what it would be like to not be offended, not just by saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not offended, I don't take it to heart," but like literally when you go to bed at night, you're not offended. When you wake up in the morning, you're not offended. When somebody cuts you off in traffic, you're not offended, right? I mean when somebody cuts you out of what's rightfully yours, you're not offended. I mean, imagine that. Like imagine what a life like that would be. It would be so fun.
It would be. There'd be a lot less suffering if we would do that. And I think you hit the nail on the head too. There's so many different areas. So in one area of our life, we might be better at not being offended or not
Mhm.
being as offended. But in another area of life, we might really struggle. And
Exactly.
you and I are both Jersey girls too. We've talked about when we're in the car, that can be something that we're, taking personally if someone cut us off
That's
and
right.
working through that and not getting angry.
Are there people in Jersey that don't get offended on the
I don't
road?
know.
Oh,
Uh,
that's so funny. Yeah, the roads are tough, but it's got do you not feel offended in Florida? Can I ask you on the road, do you feel is it different?
no, it's not different, I don't think.
So you're
Uh,
still offended.
Yeah, but I've worked through it. I think it was a book Stephen Covey wrote where he was talking about you just never know where someone's going. So in my head, I tried to tell myself they're going to the hospital. They're rushing
Mhm,
towards, they're going to the hospital.
mhm.
Where I stop myself and feel a little bit more challenges when I'm like, but the hospital's that way, so that's not where they're going. Um, but it's definitely it takes work. And I
Yeah. Well,
think it
go
depends
ahead.
on how regulated you're feeling. If you're feeling pretty calm and steady that day, you might let it roll off your back more versus if you're already feeling activated, that it doesn't take much.
Here's what I notice. If you don't have anywhere to go, you don't get offended.
So
Right.
true.
So, meaning like if I don't need to be somewhere at a certain
Yes.
time, right? Right. Like my day doesn't depend on this all working out according to plan and me getting to destination X at time Y, then it
Mhm.
doesn't matter if someone cuts me off. I'm just like, okay. But if I have somewhere to be or somewhere to go and someone does, that right
Mhm.
there, it doesn't matter. Like if I could say they're going to the hospital, and another part of my mind will say, no, they're not.
Mhm.
Right. So I think it's really interesting the difference between getting in the car and driving somewhere without any kind of urgency and seeing how you feel when people do those things, which they will always do. Right. I mean, it's just the
Mhm.
nature of the road. And then noticing how different it is when you actually have a destination to get to at a specific time. And if anything happens, you're not going to get there in time. It changes everything, I find.
I agree. And I think you can transfer that even if you're waiting in line in the grocery store, right? If you're not in a rush, you don't mind if someone kind of cut in front of you.
Exactly.
But if you are already running late, if someone does that, it's really going to be more triggering for you. So
Definitely.
urgency, that's a good point, Gina.
Yeah, or and this is the thing that I has helped me the most. And I don't think it by any means I have mastered this, but I'm always looking to master it, right? But
Mhm.
never master it, not even close. But something I say to myself that I find helpful is, oh, the person in front of me who's going that slow, they're just in that kind of a non-urgent mode.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
know what that feels like when I don't have anywhere to go. When I don't have
Mhm.
anywhere to go and it's like, "Hey, I'll get there when I get there," and someone behind me wants me to go faster, I'm like, "What's wrong with them?" Right? Because 'Cause I'm in that non-urgent state.
Mhm.
But as soon as that urgency comes in, forget it. It changes everything. So I love looking at these little things like this because it
Right.
shows us so much already.
I think you're right. Yeah.
You said earlier that, it depends on, some people have parts of their lives where they're not offended, some people have parts of their lives where they are. Have you noticed any places where it's easy for you to be not offended where most others are?
It could be in work environments. For
Mm.
me, I don't know. I think because when did work in healthcare before, I was a coach. So I think there's a natural kind of patience that you develop. So for me, I felt like I was a little bit less offended. Not, I'm sure I
Hmm.
still did, but I think, um, but I think the urgency part is important. I'm trying to think of other triggers
So, like
or
when you say at work, you mean like if there were things that happen within the establishment where you would see other people get triggered by them or upset by them, to you, it was more like, it's just the nature of the system, that kind of.
yeah, I figure
Hmm.
when I worked in the hospital, it's a high stress environment. So people are
Mm.
stressed. So you already know there's some tension there.
Hmm.
Family members are getting bad news, life-changing events are happening. So bringing in empathy could
Hmm.
really help you, let things roll off a little bit easier that way.
Hmm. Hmm. And then without getting too personal, you never have to get personal, right?
Okay.
But is there an area in your life where you feel like it's really easy for you to get offended?
I think without going into specifics, family and
Mm.
close friends, just because I think
Hmm.
sometimes you feel like, don't you know me? Why would
Mm.
you say that? That hurt my feelings.
Right.
So I think that can be one, you know,
Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, they make movies about it, like Thanksgiving dinners and things like that. Did you see the way she rolled her eyes at me? When it could just be, it's really about taking things personally.
Hmm. Right.
A lot of times, just taking things personally, and whether it was meant that way or not, sometimes it's just how we might
Mm.
perceive it, especially if we're not
Hmm.
thinking about the other person's perspective.
Mm. Okay, this brings up a great point here. And I think this is something because these kinds of conversations to me always bring up, oh, well, then what are we really saying? Are we really saying that like we just shouldn't matter about our feelings? So here's
Mhm.
I know that neither one of us are saying that, but and I want people to understand. So here's what you just shared brings up. Okay, so you said it's really common in these family situations, which I absolutely agree with, for people to take offense or take things personally or get upset by the way someone looks at them or if they don't know them or if they're saying something that they say, well, I just told you that yesterday. How did you forget already? Right? Those kinds of things.
Mhm.
For me personally, and I'm not saying that this is the belief that you share that anybody has to take on, but for me personally, it's not about not getting offended. It's about not staying offended. Right, because I don't think I can control getting offended. It's kind of like when people say, well, I don't want to have that thought. I mean, you can't control a thought that comes in, but you
Mhm.
can control what you do with that thought. So for me, when I feel offended, number one is I don't make it wrong. Right? I don't make it wrong if
Mhm.
I'm offended. What I say is, what do I need to do about this offense?
Yeah.
Do I need to address it? Do I need to say something to them? As a highly sensitive person, I probably do. Right? So, how do you handle those situations? Or ideally, how do you see someone else handling those situations where they're in a family situation and they get offended?
Hmm.
Like, what should they do to not carry that offense forward?
I think pausing is always good too. So
Mm-hmm.
pausing to feel the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
yet also not saying something that you might regret in that moment of when you're feeling offended, because there could be assumptions, misinterpretations that really can cause a greater problem than what that little moment of feeling offended is about.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to them about it, if that's something, that way you get some clarity. Hey, I really felt this when this happened,
Mm-hmm.
and just sharing with that. So in that way, and I know even, I've had talks within my family too, and they thought I said something that I did not intend to or did not mean, and I'm very grateful that they bring it to my attention
Mm,
so you can have
exactly.
clear communication. Otherwise, that would make me really sad, someone walking away,
Mm-hmm.
them feeling offended by something I said that I didn't even realize that I really would want them to come
Mm-hmm.
back to me to say, "Hey, Susan, can I talk to you about something? I felt this way when you said this." And then I
Mm-hmm.
have an opportunity to share, first validate what they're saying, so I'm sorry, I did not mean for that to happen. This is what I did mean.
Mm-hmm.
Just have a
Exactly. I mean, I
conversation.
think that's key, right? Because the thing is, I just don't want any of our listeners to think that we're saying that there's anything wrong with being offended, because I think we're all going to get offended probably for the rest of our lives, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
like I probably those are the chances for me at least. I'll just speak for
Yes.
me. Right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with getting offended. It's what we do with that. Like when we say like being unoffendable, to me that means working through that offense so that it doesn't remain an offense. And I just want to like that's a really important distinction.
Yes.
And 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 at any point, if you have something counter or you think something different, I mean, you stated, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I know you have your own ideas about being unoffendable, and I want to hear more about what that looks like for you. Um, the thing is, what you just said is crucial for people to know, which is when somebody offends you, that you go to them and share it with them. Because if you don't, they may not even know that they did anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They may not even know that they did anything to hurt you. And even if they didn't do anything wrong, it could still hurt you. Right. So like they giving them that, it's like a privilege. You're giving them a privilege to let them know how you took something that they did or didn't do. And then they have a chance to respond.
Yeah.
And some will respond favorably and some will respond unfavorably. And that's not in our control.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I do agree. I think, not being offendable, meaning not holding it on. You hear people holding on to these offenses for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what can really cause the suffering.
Mm.
So it's not holding on to, otherwise, you're having layer upon layer of
Mm-hmm.
all these offenses and all these different circumstances that can really impair the quality of your life, in my
All right.
opinion.
I'm going to ask you some tough questions, Susan, but that's
Go
what you're here
for it.
for, right?
That's right.
Okay. So, what you just said, in certain situations, the things get piled on and piled on and piled on.
Mhm.
What if someone at the dinner table does something and you feel offended by it, and then you go to them and you let them know that you were offended or upset by it, and they are defensive, or they say, I didn't do that, or I don't really care what you think, or you're being too sensitive, or whatever else? What do you do with that at this point? Like, how do you not let that turn into something that goes pile, pile, pile on and on and on?
Yes. I think for me, I think that's something then I have to work through on my own because I can't control someone else's responses. All I can do is kind of communicate what I'm feeling, and
Mhm.
they're going to feel how they're going to feel. And then for me, then I do process that emotion and process their response. And I also, if I feel like it's getting heavy and too big for me, then for me, I go to prayer too, and I ask for God's help to give me
Mm.
discernment and give me peace and
Mhm.
sometimes strength just to let it go because I know it's not serving me,
Mhm.
but it can be hard to let it go sometimes.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think that these things are particularly hard for people, for
Mhm.
me, for others. I don't know that there is a. I know that there's a lot of people out there. I know there's a lot of people out there. I've seen them on videos and audios and all kinds of things that will say things like, well, you let it go, or you move on, or you process it, or you do this, and they all sound nice, but they don't always work. They don't always work. And what do you do when they don't work? I mean, that to me is like the real
Mm,
meat of the conversation, right? It's like, because we all hear things that, like, for example, the car. I'm just going to use it as an example,
sure.
right? I mean, I've been thinking about how to maintain my cool in the car for decades,
Yeah.
right? And like I try hundreds of things. Nothing has worked to the point where I never have to revisit it, and I don't know that that's the goal. Right. So
Mm,
I want people to feel rest assured. Like, a lot of times the mind likes to think that there's a way out of something.
mhm.
And I don't know that there always is. Sometimes I think there's just a lot of revisiting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Or do you feel like there's a way to truly
No.
release, like, whatever someone has done, like just not be like literally let it go, like to the point where you don't remember it?
Right. I think it's hard when certain things are repetitive and perpetual. I think that's
Mm,
when it's really hard to let it go. And it does, you are constantly working on it. So
mm-hmm,
maybe, one day, going back to the driving example, that's a little bit easier, but then there's
mm-hmm,
tomorrow. So there's all these new opportunities to try to remain calm, but we are humans and it's hard. And
mm-hmm,
I think we're a work in progress too, as far
mm-hmm.
as we are not complete, but it's just
Exactly.
trying to find the tools to help us be a little bit, I don't know, to reduce our suffering as much as we can. And I think a lot of it is just to be aware too. I think when we're not aware and
Mm-hmm,
running subconsciously and not realizing how often things are happening, then our suffering can be that much greater. But when we're noticing it, that's when we can make maybe small changes so it doesn't feel so big.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, you have such a nice gentle way, right? You have like that nice gentle voice. You have a nice gentle way about how you look at things. Where does this gentleness come from? Were you always like this? Did you cultivate it? Like how did you get this gentle aspect to you?
I think that's part of my temperament. I do have, things
You
that,
there are moments you're not
oh,
gentle,
for
you mean?
sure, for sure. That's what I was going to say. Are you asking me for specifics? No, I will not give them to you. No, I'm just kidding. Um, no, I think I have that gentle temperament. However, when
Mhm.
I do get upset, I can be very blunt, direct, and very different from how I am now. And
Mm.
and I don't love that about me either because I
Mm.
feel like it catches people off guard. So
Mm.
I say for me, especially like when I was a caregiver, that advocate. So I'd be patient, patient. But then when I feel like, okay, they're crossing a line, then
Mm.
I'm going to be like a mama bear and I'm going
Mhm.
to be more vocal. I'm still going to be kind of compassionate because also of my faith, that's what I want to be a good representation.
Mhm.
And so that helps keep me in line s- most of the time, not all the time. Maybe I should even say some of the time because
Mhm.
it just, I feel like there's kind of ebb and flows. There's, certain
Mhm.
times that I just feel more grounded and then I could be more calm. And there are other times where I'm like, I can feel I'm not as grounded and it
Mhm.
doesn't take as much to upset me.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Well, it's good to know that you get upset.
Oh, yeah.
It's good to know that there are moments when you're not super gentle, right?
Right.
And because the reason why my mind naturally goes to these places is because I'm always thinking of how easy it would be for, let's say, one of our listeners to hear our conversation and think that there's something they're doing wrong if they're always not doing things perfectly. Do you know what I mean? Like if they're not always gentle, or if they're not always compassionate, or if they're not always able to be unoffended, or if they're not always able to resolve or process things. And I think the realness of life is that we're never perfect, we're always in process.
Hmm.
We always have parts of ourselves that we are looking to improve, or that like we wish were a little bit different, or that fly off the handle when we're feeling high stress or whatever it is. Just conveying the message that there really is no perfection as a human, and that whatever your struggle is, it's just as real as my struggle, just as real as the listener's struggle. You know what I mean? Like we're all struggling. And so while the things that you and I are talking about are these like really fun ideals, like I see being unoffendable as like this amazing ideal. Like it would be so fun to live life without ever being offended. I mean, I can't even imagine a life like that. That'd be great fun. And while it's something to aim for, I don't think it's achievable 100%.
Oh,
Now I'm open to debate. Like, I
no,
mean, I
no, no, no.
push back
I
if you don't agree with me.
No, I agree. Because the other point I wanted to bring up today too is just
Mm,
balance. Because as highly sensitive and empathic people too, and I'll speak for myself, I'm also a recovering people pleaser. So not being offended or want to make sure I'm not offending other people, that you can be too much that way too and be, oh, I'm so sorry. And
mm,
that's a weak, and that can be a weakness
mhm,
of, you want to be in the middle, I think, as
mhm,
far as just being able to um, speak your truth, being authentic, having conversations about it. But it's about balance, and it's definitely not about perfection because
mhm.
none of us here are perfect, and
Yeah.
we're just learning. It's all about growth. And
Mhm,
And before I forget too, so the reason why, so there's the book, Unoffendable.
mhm,
That's why I came up with like a topic of conversation because I just see, and quite honestly, it's an area that I do struggle with and I'm actively working on. So
mhm.
today I'm just sharing some things that help me sometimes, like I said.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's beautiful. And I think it keeps it real when we share that we're neither one of us is perfect. I mean,
Right.
I think it's obvious on my account. But what I mean is too often I see people in the public eye making it seem like this is the way. This is the way
Mhm.
to perfection. This is the way
Yeah.
to perfection, and then people think, oh, that's the way. And I don't think there is a way to perfection because we're not here to be perfect. We're here to work towards refinement and getting more perfected, if that's what you want to
Mhm.
call it. But like, I don't know a perfect human. And I
Mm-mm.
mean, for me, it's God. I mean, for me, Christ is the perfect human, right? But outside of that, we're all a work in progress. We're all a work in process. And so while I think this is a beautiful idea of being unoffended and something I absolutely work towards, it means something different than like the ear would hear at first. It doesn't mean that I don't get offended. It means that no, I do get offended, but I address it when it happens straight. I say it straight to the person.
Mhm.
Hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm feeling. This is what's happening. I'm not saying it's the ultimate truth, but this is my take. And what can we do about it?
Yes, exactly. And really, probably being less undefendable is a better, title because, like you
Mm.
said, it's not black and white.
Hmm. Now, does the I don't I mean I think we're allowed to talk about a book, right? I mean like
Yeah.
we're right we're meaning it's not like a thing like we're in a copyright issue or anything like that. You know how sometimes I think we
Oh,
could talk about a book. I think we could talk about a book,
I think so,
right?
especially if it's positive. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. And I mean it's definitely a plug for the book, right? I mean, I don't even
Right.
know. I've never read the book. I never even heard of the book. But what I
Yeah.
wanted to say to you is I don't know how far you've gotten into the book. Does the book state that it's possible to get to a place of
Mm,
perfection with being unoffended, or does it say that it's always something you're working towards?
Good question. So I had read this a few years ago and I just started rereading it.
Mm,
So I think I'd say the main thing is just choosing to be unoffendable. That it's talking about making it a choice, like being proactive in deciding it, trying to decide it ahead of time.
mhm,
So that's so some of the things it's like drop your anger, let things go,
mhm,
and choosing to be unoffendable.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I guess my curiosity about that, and the reason why I'm asking these questions is because my experience, again, this is just my experience. It doesn't mean it's right, but my experience shows me that, for example, like for most people, if you say drop the anger, they don't know how to drop anger. I mean, you know what I mean? If I'm angry and you just say drop the anger to me, I'm going to say, what do you mean drop the anger? I'm angry. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if you try to not acknowledge my anger, I'm going to be more angry.
That's right.
Right? It's like so that's what I mean. Like I'm just trying to take the perfection out of these statements
Yes.
of things like drop the anger. You know what I mean? And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that the book says that or we're just saying um if somebody tells me to drop my anger, it's not going to work. And so how do we acknowledge the anger, acknowledge the offense, and then do something about it so that offense doesn't carry on?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's the goal.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of this is easier said than done, I think is what we're getting at too.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you can read that and you don't want to feel bad about yourself because you're not able to achieve that.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be the beauty for you if you were not offended? Like, let's just say you went through a month, just 1 month of your life where nothing offended you. Like, how do you think that would change your life for that month?
Well, if I can flip it just a little bit, as far as
Mhm.
instead of me being offended, I think where I also struggle is for me not to worry about offending other people. So, how that would impact my life is I feel like I do overthink to make sure
Mhm.
I'm not offending someone. So, I'm one of those people who uses a lot of emojis to make sure that people know
Mhm.
that I'm not upset. So, I think Um, and it just takes a lot of time and energy working on
Mhm.
that. So I think just just again, slowing down, I think is
Mhm.
really helpful because I think when we're doing multitask, we might do something too quickly, say something that we really didn't give enough thought to because you and I have talked about how language is important.
Mm.
So if I just slow down to have the right language, I think that will help me not feel like I'm more at risk of offending someone
Mhm.
and just speaking my truth too, just being authentic but doing it with kindness. That way, I don't want to be a chameleon either as far as making sure they're not offended and they're okay. Just being authentically me, being
Mhm.
compassionate and slowing down, I think will help in that respect. And
Mhm.
then as far as not being offended, I think, like you said, slowing down again, because urgency was a big thing too.
Mm.
If we can do that. Again, being realistic, sometimes you have an
Mhm.
appointment that can be hard to do.
Mhm. Well, it's interesting that you flipped it to not wanting to offend others because so in a sense, it's almost like not that I we should never go around offending other people, obviously,
Of
purposely,
course.
right? But meaning like we have to decide what our driving value is. So if
Mhm,
our driving value is truth, we try to deliver truth in the most kind way possible. But if that delivery of truth offends somebody,
mhm,
it's not our responsibility. Meaning
mhm.
like it's their responsibility to say I was offended and here's what's going on and I'm bringing it to you.
Right.
So it's almost like, like are you are you reading the book to not be offended yourself, or are you reading the book to know how to deal with not offending other people, or what happens when you it's almost like if you offend someone else then you hand them the book. Hey, look, I did my best. I'm not trying to offend you, but if you are offended, here's the
Oh,
book, like could you please come and talk to me if you are.
right. I think my initial pull to the book was to not be, as offendable.
Mhm.
So that I seek peace. I want to, have a peaceful life. So that's
Mhm.
something I thought would bring me more peace. Yet the more I thought about it too, I thought of that word, being offended and just thought, you know, the other side of it too. How
Mhm.
I just do concern because I really care, care about people. I want to make sure I don't hurt their feelings.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, what value, maybe that's compassion is, one of my values. So I would feel hurt if I hurt somebody else's feelings. So I don't want to offend them. So
Mhm.
it's different. It's kind of across the board for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I know these are hard things to navigate in life.
Yeah.
I mean, it is human relations and communication. It's so hard. It's so
Mhm.
hard. It's like there's like little landmines everywhere, and you don't even know where they are until you step into them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? And then they go off, and then you're like, "Wow, how did I get into this mess? It was not my intention," right? But we learn from each one of these messes.
Exactly.
Right. And so it sounds like you're saying that you don't like to offend people, and when you do, you feel sorry that you do. You're not That's not your aim.
Mhm.
But you're also looking at the fact that you can't spend your life living to not offend people, because then you're not living your life.
Exactly. Thank you. Very well put.
I mean, so it's like, what is your driving value in communication? So like, imagine if someone said, well, my driving value in communication is to not offend people. Right. I mean, like, if that were their driving value, it would be I would be like, okay, but what's your value? Like, what's your value? Right. It's almost like they're giving me
Mhm.
that they're in that people pleasing mode. Right.
Right.
What's your value? Like, because what it comes down to is all people want care, connection, love, understanding, support. I mean, these are the basic human needs.
Mhm.
And so it's like, when you communicate with another person, what's your driving value?
I'd say two things that are my goals
Uh-huh.
is truth and grace.
Mhm.
That is what I'm working towards. But like I said, as a recovering people pleaser, I
I like that. I
recognize
like that phrase. Yeah.
I recognized, I wasn't being as authentic, as I want
Mhm.
to be because I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. And that's a
Mm.
hard truth.
Mhm.
That's a hard truth.
Mhm.
So, the good news about being in my mid 50s is I'm more motivated to live an authentic life.
Mm.
And I want to do that with compassion. Yet
Mhm.
also, I don't want to, you know, have someone else miss out because I wasn't being truthful too.
Mm. Right.
Protecting them so much so that they missed out on getting a message that maybe they needed to hear.
Yeah. That's right. Is there a message you want to give me?
I'm
Are,
good.
are you people pleasing with me, Susan? Or
No, did it sound? I feel like,
no, no, I'm just playing. I'm just saying, if you are, you forget it. Just give it to me straight. This is Straightway Through with Gina.
oh,
Okay,
you just wanted a plug. No, I'm just kidding.
I just wanted. I think the reason I'd say this is because I think it's really important for people pleasers or recovering people pleasers to
Mhm.
know that people want. I shouldn't speak for everybody. I would want somebody to be straight with me. If somebody
Mhm.
was people pleasing me,
Yeah.
and I found that out at the end of my life, that they spent their time people pleasing me instead of telling me something straight, I would be very upset and feel absolutely betrayed by that person.
Hmm.
Right. And I think that's an important message for people to hear, because sometimes we think we're doing somebody good by pleasing them.
Right.
And the truth is, we could be hurting them,
Hmm.
right? Because they're never getting to really know who you are. And they're never really getting to know your reflection of them, like your real reflection of them. It keeps it hidden.
Yeah, it is a gift when someone says it to you straight,
Mm-hmm.
and you do a really great job at that. And you're a really good role model for me, just saying it straight. And because sometimes at with people pleasers, we can have so much fluff that the message isn't even delivered. And so
Mm.
there could be something that needs to be said, but there's so much fluff and niceties behind it that the person didn't
Mm-hmm.
even get it. And
Yeah.
that's that's I know
Right.
I'm guilty of that. Um,
Right.
and I know because of my gentle nature, people are often very um, can be guarded or extra sweet with me that I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm maybe not always getting the truth too.
Mm. Oh, interesting. So like, they think because you're gentle and sweet, like they shouldn't spoil that by telling you anything straight.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Just some of the
Mhm.
feedback I think I've gotten.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So it,
Yeah,
it almost goes both ways.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I think this has been a really fun topic, and it's just my nature to poke around in topics like
Yeah.
this to get to the essence, I think, of whatever the message is, because you and I both show up with a message, but there could be an underlying message to both of our messages, and I think like these kinds of real conversations about it bring up that real message.
Exactly. Time to
whatever it is.
explore and unpack what's in it.
That's right. I mean, that's right. Maybe we won't even know exactly what the message is until 3 months from now. And I'll be thinking back to this conversation and I'll be like, ah, that was what is still with me from that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
so I really I love that you chose this as your topic. I think it's an amazing topic. I think there's a lot more to talk about it. I hope that you'll come back in 6 months and we'll talk about part two and see what's
Yes.
developed. Maybe by then you'll have read through the second time and have even more insights to share with us. Is there anything you feel about the topic itself that you wanted to say or to convey that you haven't done yet?
I think I've said it all, and I hope there's value that I was able to share, and just I think too, just making sure people understand that not to be hard on themselves if they're having a hard time with this.
Mm, right.
Yeah, one step at
Exactly.
a time when we're making changes.
Exactly. One step at a time, one step at a time. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's a couple steps back, and sometimes it's a couple steps
that's right.
forward, and sometimes you got to just sit down
Yeah,
and
I
stop
like
stepping.
that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And because I find that I don't want to make it seem like life wasn't always hard. I think life is always hard. I just think that's the nature of it. But I do feel like a lot of stuff is coming up for people at this time in the world in 2025, right?
Hmm.
To be seen and addressed on levels where previously it wasn't.
Hmm.
It's kind of like the carpet is shaking. You know, you take a carpet outside to shake it
Yeah.
to release all that dust. I mean, that seems to be the period or the phase that we're in this world. And so I feel like for a lot of people, they're experiencing that shakeout.
Hmm.
And I don't think we're anywhere near done with the shakeout. think
Hmm.
I think it might have just started.
Exactly.
And and so I feel like it's helpful to know that because sometimes we do feel all alone. We think the shakeout's only happening to me.
Mhm.
And I think it's happening for all of us. And I think these conversations help to let everybody know that, like, oh, yeah, what I'm going through, the next person is going through too in their own
Mhm.
way.
Exactly. Yeah, that
Yeah.
they're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners? How could they get in touch with you? Anything at all?
Sure, they can reach me at my email, Susan at stlcoach.com, and I can give them a freebie that I have. It's my self-care recharge ideas, where
Hmm.
it's broken down different ideas for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, because when you're busy, you don't always know how to regain your energy, and it just keeps it on top of the mind. So you can print it out, put it on your fridge, and that way, instead of the aimless scrolling that we sometimes do, you have different ways that you plan ahead of how you want to spend your time.
That's so nice, and I'll put that in the show
Oh,
notes. And
great.
I know that you are I mean, I know you to be a very gentle person, a very kind person, a very compassionate person, a loving person, a supportive person. So I'm sure that anybody that checks out that list is going to feel that coming through.
Mhm. Oh, thank you, Gina. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I thank you for being a guest on the show. And like I said, there's no pressure, but maybe 6 months you'll return, and we'll talk about part two.
I'd love to.
All right. Anything else, Susan, that you want to share before I close us out?
Nope. Thank you for what you're doing here, Gina. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. And I'll share with our listeners that if you would like to get the Say It Straight to Yourself journal prompts in your email daily, they come Monday through Friday, not on weekends. You get weekends off. This is an opportunity for you to get to know yourself more. In fact, one participant has shared that they access parts of themselves or the questions make them think about parts of themselves that they wouldn't normally think of. So imagine getting a question in your inbox every day that you sit down and do for 3 minutes that helps you get to know a part of yourself that you would have never even thought about. As you get to know yourself better, you get to be able to speak up more in your relationships, right? Speak up to yourself first so you can speak up to them second. One of the things that helps us as we move through these hard times in relationships is getting the message out to other people. And it's really hard to get that message out to other people. Like when somebody offends you, it's hard to get that message out to other people if you haven't yet gotten it out to yourself. So you say it to yourself first so you can say it to them second. If you'd like those daily journal prompts, the link will be in the show notes as well. I want to thank our guest, Susan, for doing a fabulous service by being here today and bringing up this topic, which is really important, and helping me share with everyone that we're not perfect and we're still successful.
Mm.
We're
Thank you, Gina.
yeah, we're still making a great impact in this world. I know you are, Susan. So thank you for
And
that.
I know you are too.
All right. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day or night or wherever it is that you're listening to this, and we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.